few weeks since trapping season started officially for me. I said I was going to go over the different kinds of traps that I use here in Florida and that I use in other states. So I am going to go over all those. I will say it's not as Disney makes it out to be with a lot of the traps that trappers use, because we tend to be use a lot more ethics than most. But we're going to cover the different styles. This is a long spring. This is a coil spring. They're just designed to hold an animal like a handcuff. For the long springs, they come in two different styles, both double long spring and single long spring. And all the traps, steel traps I'm showing today, come in a variety of styles and sizes. I think this is a Duke number 5, I think. And that's a Duke number 1, nothing special. And for the people that think they break fingers or animals' legs, they don't. This is the long springs, both single long spring and double. They're designed to hold. That's it. Nothing special. I've been caught in hundreds of traps, probably because I'm not that good at it, because my state doesn't really allow it. These ones are actually, I guess you'd call wall decor, because I can't use them, and I'm not a fan of the long springs. I picked them up at a thrift store and that was it. When I get caught, I use my feet a lot of times. I don't have to, but I do. And there's not a whole lot of pressure, it's just the design holding pressure. I mean, there's nothing to it. But the long springs I do have, these are still very available. I mean, I'm honestly thinking about picking up some, I think number 11 Duke long springs for beaver trapping itself when I do go out of state, instead of the coil springs. But these are great little traps, still widely available. These are the same thing, just the springs are holding it up. I mean, they don't hurt. It's more of a shock to the animal when they get caught. I mean, like anybody, you know, handcuffs get slapped on you, oh, you're a little shocked, right? But these, I mean, the animal can pull. They don't break body parts, they don't cut. I mean, you can clearly tell my hand is in there, and I just stuck it in there. I mean, there's nothing. These ones are not designed to kill. They're designed like handcuffs to hold. So that's all they are. They're just handcuffs. And yes, before y'all are like, well, stick your hand in the bigger one for the PETA people. I mean, they don't hurt. Watch. That's it. They're holding. That's all they do. And if anybody that doesn't know, there's so many nerves that run through the palm of your hand that it doesn't feel great, but it does not hurt. It does not cut. It's just holding. That's all they do. It's all it's designed to do. You can run extra springs on the chains themselves, and these are swiveled. This is a swivel, so it keeps it from binding and putting extra tension. You can run extra springs on these to help, they call them shock springs. So when that animal pulls, it compresses that spring, then it's less pressure on the animal's foot if you're not going to get to them in a timely manner. But 90% of all trappers get to them in a timely manner unless something comes up. Yeah, put it on the ground. Oh, off bounce. You get a step on. I mean, great big trap, hand, has a small indent from like a cop or somebody putting on handcuffs a little too hard. That's it. This side of my hand, that's just rust. I haven't used these traps in a very long time because I've mostly concentrated on my state because of my son. But they do not hurt, harm, break legs, cut the animal's foot off, because no offense, we're not trapping a foot. Trappers don't trap feet. We trap the animal for the fur or to remove them from where they're being a problem. You'll often hear ADC trappers. They're animal damage control. So you move in on a wild animal's territory, and like you build your house there, and now you got a problem with raccoons. That's where we got to come in, help you out by removing him from his original home because you moved in on him. Now this one, I will not be sticking my hand in. Not because it's a mean, killing, mangling device. It is the fact that this one is designed to dispatch the animal, which means kill. This one is designed for that. Lord, it's a tangled mess. They're primarily used for beavers, otters, water trapping. Sometimes they're used on land, not too often, depending on your state's laws. This one, I think, is a 220, I can't be sure. But it is designed to catch the animal behind the head and dispatch them. They go to sleep instantaneously. Let me get it set and I'll show y'all how it sets and go from there. But it's just these springs, like this side, will pop open. You can't really do it with your hands because it's that much pressure, but I will show a trick on how to do it with a strap. Make sure y'all can see my piece of wood down here. This is just a piece of ratchet strap. Normally thicker rope works a little better. What I like to do is just run it through both loops on the spring itself. Put a wrap on the foot so it doesn't slip. Give it a squeeze. That spring there is set. These have safety triggers. Okay, this little hook right here, it holds this spring open so you can get it set. This side has the same thing, just a simple little hook so that you can safely, you don't have to compress them, you can lock it to where it stays like that. Take the strap, run it through the first eye of the spring, second eye of the spring. Come back around through that spring eye, back to your other spring eye. This works like the same concept as a pulley. Give it a wrap on your foot. Pull it till that spring compresses. Put your lock in place, your safety. That way it locks it shut, or yeah, shut. Alright. Now, I'm trying to do this where I don't get caught. I'm not a fan of being caught in these. It does happen. I will not lie. First person I ever seen caught in one was my dad, because we were getting into beaver trapping when I was probably 18, and we didn't realize that you weren't allowed to use them in Florida, that it was strictly snare. So I don't know how we got a hold of one, and he's like, well, this is a beaver trap, and we were playing with it. Like, you know, most not so smart outdoorsmen that haven't been introduced to that style of trap. And yeah, he set it, had it on the floor. When he come up, it had snapped on both his arms, and at that time I was only at like 90 pounds soaking wet, and it was a much bigger trap. This is a 220. The other one that he got caught in was a 330. And I physically could not squish these springs back down to where we could get him out. I had to use the strap method. But even though he was caught, he calmly walked me through it. It's not as bad as you would think. But yeah. Alright. Safety's on. It's just like that. When it's laid flat, it has two parts to the trick. This wire part, and this is called the dog. This dog, when you compress these boxes together, it compresses your springs. Okay, see how the safeties are free swinging now? You always want to keep those on. This is how it goes off. You squeeze the... I'm trying to do this on camera, so harder than what I thought it would be. Alright, once you squeeze it, you can get the dog to lay in the grooves and catch this other bar. Okay? That way you can slowly release this cage to where if an animal touches this spring, it will go off. Touches these wires. And the thing is, you want that animal to go through this strap. That way it catches it behind the head or in that area to instantly and dispatch that animal. And then you just make sure you turn your safeties off and it's live. That thing will hurt and kill an animal. Or that will kill an animal, not hurt them. Little tip, if you are using these, when you set it, make this wire a circle. That way majority of that animal is in that trap before it goes off. You will miss the smaller ones, but the target ones will get caught because you want bigger ones. Now, if you're like me and you forget all the time to take your safeties off, because I've set these, come back and, oh yeah, it didn't go off. or it went off, but the safety stopped it from closing on the animal, so it just scared the animal. Set them upside down. Safeties will instantly fall off. When you're setting it in its place, slide those safeties all the way to the end, and you'll see, even though it's upside down, it's still holding that spring closed. When you want to set it, just scoot it towards the spring itself. And that is the Conibear. Now I'm not gonna set this off. I have my cats running around, barn cats running around. So, and I don't have like a stuffed animal or anything, but yeah, these just, the animal pushes on this and it causes that dog to flip off. See if I can do it, still hold it. So it causes this, when the animal pushes on this, it causes that dog to flip forward, and that causes the trap to close. That is the only trap that I know of, other than snares, that I know I use to dispatch animals. Grab one of these snares. Right. For the ones that don't know what a snare is, I mean, I'm sure you've seen them in every movie known to man almost. This is a snare. It's just a cable loop, animal walks through, sticks his head in, and it closes on him. And he can't get away. Okay, that's tethered to a tree, a cable stake, something like that. It's held up by a wire that holds this loop in the animal's path. He goes in, pulls tight on him, he can't get out. The downside to these, and I know a lot of states don't feel it's a downside, I do. Unless you're intending to dispatch that animal, if he gets tangled up, he will go to sleep. He'll choke himself out and he'll die. I do use drowners on these too, which a drowner is so that it can go down one way on a cable, or I've been using fiberglass rods here recently. He can go one way, but he can't come back up. That's how I drowned a lot of my beavers, because a beaver is just a big rodent with bolt cutters in his mouth. So I use drowners a lot on those. But that's all that is. And that just hangs right in their path. And he walks through, closes. There's a whole science behind making these to where they're more efficient and catch a lot better. It's took me years to learn it. But it is definitely, being here in Florida, since this is one of the few legal means we have to take our fur bearers and other animals like that, this is my primary use. I've learned to trap a whole lot of trails. The other traps we use, cage traps, which, if you don't know what that is, it's a cage, like it sounds like. They're built in a variety of sizes for each animal. The animal walks in and he steps on a trigger plate, metal plate, any kind of plate. Sometimes I've seen them as wire or wood. He steps on it and the door closes behind him and he's stuck, chilling, being comfortable as ever, until you get there in the morning. I mean, that's all they are. They are crazy humane. I mean, there's downsides to them. They're big, they're bulky. This snare, for like a number one, I can pack a 4 dozen of these, a dozen of these, okay? For cage traps, at most, if I efficiently pack myself like a mule toting traps in, I can get 4. But I gotta have them stacked up. It's a hassle, and that's doing my best. I can carry 4 dozen of those, no problem. Set them on trails, piece of cake. I carry a dozen or more of those, set them on raccoon trails, and I pick up tons of them. Cage traps, 2 to 4 at most, so they're really inefficient on that. And they're easily spotted. Most people will walk right past that. When you put these in the ground, I have a hard time finding the ones I set. That's why I end up caught in them. I know it's in this area, but I gotta get that animal to step on that little tiny pad. If he don't step there, it's not going off. So I mean, these are, in my opinion, probably more effective and more humane. But Disney and PETA will have you believe, I'll just close that shut, open, so that I can set it. Disney and PETA will have you think that these are the world's worst. I mean, that one doesn't even think. Rotate that around. That jaw doesn't stay open. So unless this spring is holding these two together, that's it. And it's actually only holding upward pressure, these don't go off. But these are buried completely underground. If they're sitting above the ground, it's a trapper that doesn't know what they're doing, or an animal has pulled them up. But that's all that is. A little handcuff. Doesn't break skin, anything like that. They look scary. Disney will have you believe, or other PETA will have you believe that these are designed to mangle animals. They're not. But that's the different kinds of traps that I use. And since I trap in multiple states, I have a variety. I have totes upon totes of traps that don't ever get used, or probably never will get used. Because I am definitely a fan of snares, but they have their downsides too. So, like anything, it has its downsides.